I have to invite people by paper airplane. Call them up. No, I don't like talking on the phone. Hope to God that they get there. I'm not going to hope to God. I'm not going to, put my faith in that. I'm going to put my faith in something much stronger than that, Cat. Video editing. Yeah, they'll get there. Don't worry.
This big bot challenge seems pretty simple. There's a bot generator. I'm gonna roll the dice, and whatever number the dice land on is what I'm gonna use to give me some prompts for building my bot. The body, I rolled carapist. For the head, I rolled cute and round. For the arms, I rolled extra, old witch hands, and bones for the legs. Number 17, I couldn't read. But I checked in on the computer and blew it up, and it's cutie, so that all checks out. I'm not really sure how I'm going to have old witch hands and bones and still make it look cutie. And then we're also doing a cute and round head, but here are some ideas that I've drawn out. I really like this guy. He's hiding behind a tree from this human, but he's way too big. Let's get started. I think I'm gonna go with that. We're using found objects and recyclables to build this build, and some beads, of course. This little eyedropper container was the perfect size for his body. I got to use all my kit bashing knowledge from other YouTubers immediately because the super glue was not gluing these pieces together, but luckily there's baking soda to fix that problem. I gathered every single bead and bead-like object from around the house that I could possibly get my hands on, and then I started putting together this little body. I thought I was just gonna wing it and start putting beads everywhere and it would turn into a bot somehow, but that wasn't what happened when I started building, and I needed more of a plan. Also, don't underestimate how sharp wire can be when you cut it, and try to be safe when you're building your own bots, because I sustained multiple injuries during this build. But that taught me to tuck in those edges and glue them down and safely cover them up with plastic. Okay, got a nice little torso here. I'm gonna work on the arms. Now, the prompt word that I rolled for his arms was extras, but I decided to interpret it a little bit differently and not have extra arms all over his body. Instead, I decided he packed a few extra arms before he came to this universe because he's just a little guy. He doesn't know what he's gonna run into out there, and someone out there might need an extra hand, an extra arm, or he might need one to replace because he doesn't know what he's gonna come up against. Backstory for this little guy is that he's just a small baby robot who's run away from home to go exploring, and he goes through a portal and lands in the human world. Even though he's just a baby, he's massive over here, and he encounters his first human. He tries to hide behind a tree, and he just wants to say hello human and let them know that he's not a threat, but he's also a little bit scared of them, and he just doesn't know what the heck is going on. So I made some wrinkly witch hands out of polymer clay, and now I'm making his backpack, and I'm gonna give him a few extra arms to stick in there, and then I'm gonna bake those separately and add them in the end. So for his head, we need something cute and round. I scoured the house for little bits and bobs and beads, and I finally discovered this broken piece of what I think is part of like a sweatshirt tassel holder thing. This is gonna be the perfect bot head. Like, I can feel it. So once I broke this thing apart and got the spring out of there, I thought, hey, maybe I'll save this for later and use it. But then I put it back together, and I found these little knockoff Lego pieces that I had from something, and they were the perfect fit for his little eyes. I only had one black and one white, but I'm gonna paint over them anyway. I had these flat beads in the same little bits bag, and I decided to carve them into cog shapes, and then I'm using my 3D pen not printer, so it should still be okay for the challenge to make some little wires going around there. And just honestly, I'm just new to using a 3D pen and I wanted to see how it would look, and then I realized like I better stop messing with it because if I mess it up I can't go back with this build. It's really hard to know if the bot is any good at this point because it's got so many different colors going on and different textures, and it was a lot. But I've watched enough of Bill's videos to know that after you prime it, everything changes, so I'm just waiting for that. Okay, so this is my little guy. I just need to do the rivets, and then I need to spray him with some primer and go ahead and paint him up and then finish up this diorama because this thing is due pretty soon. So I almost forgot about his carapace body. I have to add some foam onto his back, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add on the rivets. I'm using some polystyrene rods that I'm just cutting into tiny little bits, and then I'm gonna plop those all over this thing. Yeah, so he looks crazy, but he is my little guy, so I'm gonna go ahead and prime him now. He definitely looks a ton better with some primer on him, and he's gonna look even better once I paint over him with this acrylic paint. This is a mix of different brands of acrylic, but I am using professional paints because I found that the color is a lot better. I didn't want to go out and get all of those like paints that are for like tabletop gaming and wargaming paints because they're expensive and I don't know what colors to buy. Here's where I chose to interpret the bones for his legs. I'm gonna draw on some skeleton bones all over him, but on his legs I'm drawing this like crossbones, and I feel like these are paints that he painted onto himself because he's trying to be super edgy. And in my head, he's like a 12-year-old bot and he thinks these things are cool, so that's what he decided to like tattoo all over himself. To draw all of his doodles, I'm using a permanent marker, and then I'm going over that with white acrylic paint on a super fine tipped paintbrush. I'm dry brushing some pastel pink over him because I like the way it looks and not really for any other reason. And then I'm going in and highlighting his lips and his eyes. And then he was pretty much painted up and done. I painted the extra arms in his little backpack. Now I have one other thing I need to build. I have to make a little person to go in the front of the diorama. I'm using some metal wire and I'm using this liquid green stuff again because it works really well for making the clay stick to the wire when I'm trying to sculpt things, especially things that are this tiny. And then I'm gonna go ahead and sculpt a little backpacker who's out hiking and stumbles across this gigantic robot hiding behind a tree in the middle of the forest. I underwent the torture of baking it in the oven and hoping to God that it didn't burn up in the oven, and it came out okay, so I went on to paint it using the same types of acrylic paint, just a bunch of different ones that I've collected over time. And then here's my little person. This gives you an idea of how small they are. And now we need to make some scenery. So we're gonna go ahead and use my tried and true tree method that I've been doing for the 6 Pine series, which is a series on my channel where I'm building a whole town from scratch in Engage, and it's in the middle of a forest, so I've been building a lot of pine trees, and this is how, basically using some wire and some rope fibers and then twirling those in between with my drill. And I'm going over those with acrylic paint and letting them dry while I work on the base for the diorama. Might be caught in a time loop of cutting up this pink insulation foam to make rocks, but if it works, and it usually works, so let's keep using it. And also I'm using some sawdust and some more wood glue to make the base. I just love the texture that this gives to the bases of my dioramas, and it doesn't take a long time to dry, which is why I like it over other things that I could use. I'm sprinkling down some static grass too, but I've chopped that static grass up into really fine, tiny little particles so that they could be more in scale. And now I'm adding in the trees that we made earlier. Okay, here's our little guy. Let me just figure out where I want to put him. I want him to be trying to hide behind this tree. I'm gonna add in the little person, the little mini-me, and this looks good, but we need to put some more of the trees. And okay, I think that looks good. Let's just pop in his backpack and paint the base, and then I think we're done. think we are ready to call it finito on the Big Bot Bash. So what do you guys think? This is my first time building a little bot. I'm super happy with how he turned out. Thank you, Bill, for sending me that airplane. I had a lot of fun doing the build. Shout out to my patrons, because they are the ones who supply this channel with the ability to keep being a channel. Really appreciate you guys, and also don't forget to check out all the other people in the playlist. I have it linked in the description box, and it's gonna be down below. But here's a sneak peek at a few of the builds. They are so awesome. I'm so excited for you guys to watch them. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.